On Friday, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, will land in New Delhi. The visit is being seen as a sign of closer Indo-US security ties. But some in Washington are not too thrilled. So they're trying to make trouble by insulting India and embarrassing the U.S. I have a letter with me, written on the 17th of March by Robert Menendez. It is addressed to the U.S. Defense Secretary. Mr. Menendez is a Democratic senator from New Jersey. Many of you may not have heard of his name, but he is an influential figure in U.S. politics. He is also highly controversial, and we'll discuss that in a bit. But first, let's talk about the letter. Mr. Menendez has written, and I quote, "Dear Secretary Austin, I write ahead of your trip to India to urge you to raise democracy and human rights concerns in your discussions with the Indian government." He then goes on to say that the Indian government's ongoing crackdown on farmers peacefully protesting new farming laws and corresponding intimidation of journalists and government critics only underscores the deteriorating situation of democracy in India. The deteriorating situation of democracy in India. He also talks about a whole lot of other things that are related to India. Now, first of all, nobody asked Mr. Menendez for his opinion. Sitting in New Jersey, he should not be crying wolf about Indian democracy being in danger. Neither do such smear campaigns deserve any attention. So why are we talking about this? Because we know that this letter is going to make a lot of news in the days to come. Some in India are going to quote it to suit their narrative. So let's get some facts clear. Washington itself has not opposed the new farm laws. In fact, in February, the US State Department indicated, and I use that word with utmost caution, it indicated that the Biden administration is supportive of the Indian government's move to reform the agricultural sector. A State Department spokesperson said, and I quote, "In general, the United States welcomes steps that would improve the efficiency of India's markets and attract greater private sector investment." That said, there have been at least 12 rounds of talks between the protesting farmers and the government of India. All efforts have been made to strike an agreement. And just 2 days back, the Defense Minister of India, Rajnath Singh, said that the government was ready for another round of talks. As for the so-called ongoing crackdown, Mr. Menendez seems to be worried about. The US senator must first bring American tech firms to task for allowing misinformation to spread on social media. When Trump supporters fueled misinformation on social media, when Washington's Capitol Hill was stormed, Twitter and Facebook took action. When Khalistani sympathizers and Pakistanis fueled misinformation about the farm laws, when some farmers ran riot and stormed the Red Fort in India, what did Twitter say? The tweets must flow. You see, every person has a right to express himself or herself, has a right to protest, and every government also has a right to ensure that the protests do not descend into chaos, that they do not get hijacked by vested interests. And now let me tell you about Mr. Menendez himself. He is a high-ranking Democratic senator. He has even served in the Obama administration. Here are a few things that you will not find on his CV. In 2015, Robert Menendez was among the few Senate Democrats to oppose the Iran deal. He then said, "If Iran is to acquire a nuclear bomb, it will not have my name on it." In 2018, during the Trump era, Robert Menendez, the very same man, took a U-turn and he said, "It will be a grave mistake to walk away from the Iran deal without a plan." Then in 2015, Senator Robert Menendez was indicted for bribery. He took gifts and money from a doctor in return for using the powers of his Senate office to benefit the said doctor's personal interests. His high-profile corruption trial also revealed that he received several trips on a private jet owned by the same doctor in return for favors at the Federal Aviation Administration. The list of controversies this senator is embroiled in is slightly longer. We'll keep the rest for some other time. All we have to say right now is this: a corrupt senator who has time and again exploited his Democratic office should be the last person complaining about democracy in a faraway land. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.